Can't.
Okay, cool.
No, you need
can?
to get closer.
You can?
Yeah,
There
yeah,
you
that's
go.
fine.
That's
That's
fine,
fine. That's fine. That's
Talking
fine.
to the mic.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
cool. Okay, so welcome back, guys. This is episode 3 of To Be a Man. The last question was: are masculine traits necessary or relevant to be a man? And today's question is: do you need to prove your masculinity?
There you go.
Yeah, let's listen to the answers and listen to our commentary afterwards.
In a way, to other people, yes, but it comes from insecurity. So you can feel like a man, but if somebody else tells you you're not, you have to prove it to them in a way that makes them feel like you're a man. So like masculinity is always like made up by other people. So if you're like, okay, we're dressing up in like girls' clothes and that makes you feel masculine or as a man, and somebody else says, no, this we're girls, you have to prove it to them. So you kind of have to for your own sanity, because everybody keeps a certain view of themselves and has a certain like pride about being a man if you're a man. And it's very much like they really try to drill it into you. You always have to be a man, or you have to man up, and it always comes from outside. Even though, like, if you want to just do your own thing, somebody else will always tell you you're less a man than they are. So don't fight as much. If you don't are as tough as them, they will always try to emasculate you. I think it's like perpetuating a kind of culture. You're supposed to be a man, and even women look at you different when you're not a man in their eyes. So I think it's something that got baked into society, and now you just have to prove it without a reason, and we're kind of loosening that up, but it's still happening enough. So like Young Thug wore a dress, and people were saying he was less of a man, and even women were saying he was less of a man. So you don't even have to be a man to be able to influence what it means to be a man, same as being a woman.
Girlhood and womanhood is often very equated to something sexual, while manhood is often equated to your inherent worth as a person.
Okay.
So if someone in this case would question my womanhood, I would be like, I don't give a shit, you know. But I think generally speaking, if you identify as male and people identify your manhood, then they're basically telling you you are worth shit as a person.
No, not really.
Why?
I think the main reason for that is that I'm more raised by my mom and my sisters and my dad. So I talked to Ben like a few months ago that he has like brothers, and how friends Ava and Cruz are like raised by my mom, and I have like tattoo that when we're in a fight with our friends, Ava, Cruz, and me, and I are not that type of we fight back, and it's more common sense in our head that we don't have to fight back because like we're around women and you don't have to punch you, but like Dan has like two brothers, right? Two brothers. And yeah, he always has to fight for his spot, and he always has to behave like bigger men in the house to earn his spot. I never had that, so I never should prove prove my masculinity traits. Masculinity.
So yeah, I kind of already ran through this a little bit, but I used to do this a lot more, proving my masculinity, go to the gym, hold the door open, all this stuff. And I still do it sometimes now. Why? It's just what I grew up with. Being in Eastern Europe, there was always a fear that you weren't seen as the man. You had to, keep all your emotions in, not talk about how you feel, no crying, shit like that. But thankfully, I grew up with my mom and my sister, so that wasn't as strong for me as it was for my friends. But that did mean that when I was with my friends, I of course was trying to prove it a lot more. Um, Getting into fights from time to time, trying to win in athletic competitions. I remember we had to run a 3 kilometer run, and in the shortest amount of time as possible. And I ran it in like 12 minutes because I felt like that's what I wanted to do, and I puked. But that's very random. I do not have bullet points for this question. Maybe they were a good idea. That's kind of where it ends. Let me think a little bit more. You need to prove your... Okay, but do you need to prove your masculinity? I now believe that I don't have to prove it, but subconsciously I think I still do things to prove it. But it's not something that I'm like thinking about anymore, and it's kind of the opposite, where sometimes I'll do something because I feel like it's gonna show that I'm a man, and I don't do it specifically because I'm like, why the fuck am I doing this? Yeah.
No. I don't know.
Why?
I just don't feel like I have to proving masculinity is not everything that needs to be proven. And sense didn't really make sense, but you get the gist. If I feel like I need to prove, probably like act quote manly. But I think that's also just a more societal shaped thing that doesn't really have to exist. It doesn't really exist just in the heads of people.
Okay. That was all the answers we've got. Let's ask the guys here. Do you ever feel the need to like prove your masculinity, or have you ever been pressured to exert your masculine side?
Yes. But when I was a small kid, you know, when you had to run fast, for example. If you were slower than a girl, then you were less of a man.
So you had to be like athletic.
Athletic.
Oh my god! Yeah, like you had to be like better than.
For example, yeah.
What about you?
Yeah. In my household, or at least from what I was taught, a lot of value from me as a human being would be associated with how much of a man I was. And there were a lot of things, such as me being gay or me not liking traditionally male things, that made me not adhere to that standard of being a man. So I often did feel the need to prove my masculinity because I was taught that if I did not reach a certain level of masculinity, then that would reflect badly on me as a human being. So yeah, I have felt that need. I don't feel it right now, I think. Maybe sometimes subconsciously, but in the past, definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly subconscious.
Yeah. I don't have it right now.
Drilled in.
Yeah.
That is just like some things that we can even name. That is just like.
It's just like an inner feeling you get sometimes.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's interesting. Because growing up, I've got a lot of like, not as much physical abuse, but a lot more like verbal abuse as a kid from both my father and my mother. And I noticed like every time I would take a little bit longer just to like get ready, or let's start from the beginning. It's just like when you've had a lot of verbal abuse, you tend to not listen to your parents. It's like everything you hear, you try to do the opposite. Or at least that was my way of like showing, hey, I don't like what you're doing. This is not okay, so I'm not going to do it. That was my way of doing that. So eventually, after I figured out, like, hey, I like taking care of my appearances. I like clothes. I like fashion. I like all taking care of my skin or anything. Just taking care of my aesthetics. my mom and dad would like saying like, how long do you want to keep up that makeup for? Or like, hey, does it take that long to take it? Like put on makeup, or just like, oh, you're a girl, you're taking so long to get ready, or like all those things like the feminine traits, so to say. Like they were like comparing with the feminine side of like, hey, this is not what a guy is supposed to do, so to say. So every time they said that, I was like, yeah, fuck you, basically. So I
So
was
you
just
went
like,
the opposite way.
yeah. So I went the opposite way. I was
Yeah.
like, hey, I like this, so I'm gonna continue. I don't care what you think. So after like a while, or like, yeah, of course I've heard people like, oh yeah, don't drink with the straw if you have a drink. Drink it from the glass. You're a man, right? Or like my old manager, not here, not from LS Sunday, but like my old graphic design job, there was a manager, he was a great person, but he also was not aware of this. So I was just drinking a drink with a straw, threw away my straw, and said, now you're a man. I was like, it's just weird
fucking rules.
Yeah, weird rules,
fucking
right?
Rules.
I've never ever heard of that.
So it's like, oh yeah, now you're a girl, or anything. It's just
Oh, how
Like, what's a
insecure! How
straw?
insecure must you
Yeah.
be?
A straw?
it's very insecure, right? It's like, oh, I like drinking it from this way, but no, this is not what a man is supposed to like act.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what Ming said really resonated with me, and I think maybe partially also explains why some men have such stupid rules about what it means to be a man or what not, or adhere to such stupid rules, such as drinking out of a straw or not, because oftentimes your manhood is associated with your worth as a human being. Because if we go back to what kind of traits are often seen as masculine and what traits are often seen as positive, there's an overlap there. I feel like we've been over this whole story before, so I'm not.
No, yeah, there's like an overlap, and what
that-
I found like Yucko, and what Ming said was like very similar in a way as well, because he was saying like,
Like
oh yeah,
being raised by a
Yeah,
mom and a sister.
being
Yeah, I
raised
thought
with a
that was
mom and a
interesting.
sister, and also like having to like some people having to fight to be in the top spot.
Yeah,
I
you
guess that
talked
also
about
like
our-
that culture also like conditions you into thinking like this is how you're supposed to behave to become the top dog, so to say, in this place or in this environment. So I guess it's true what they're saying is like, yeah, because your own human value is attached to it. It's not just like, oh yeah, they don't like me, okay, cool. But the entire culture is based on, oh, if you don't adhere to this, you're not a real man, so you don't have any value.
Yeah.
And that's like that could like account for a lot of why, for example, my old manager threw away that straw because he thought, yeah, that's how you're supposed to act, like a man.
And it's so sad. Like
Yeah.
drinking out of a straw is better for your teeth and everything, you know. Like,
It's true.
the
It is.
fuck, man. The fuck.
That's nice. Looks cute.
I like being cute.
I
No
feel
problem
cute
with that.
when I drink with a straw.
Straws are great, guys.
Yeah, but yeah, I think those were very interesting overlaps as well.
I also did find interesting the fact that there was a couple of answers where they did quote, I was raised by my mom or my sister, and when I was with them, I did not have to prove my masculinity because I don't need to compete.
Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean?
there was
that's the
also
biggest
a
thing.
statement about someone being called less of a man by another girl or woman.
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
I think-
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
is
coulda
obviously
said that.
there is obviously that statement too between
But-
women and men.
What you're saying, I think, is true though,
But
because
I do feel like between women, actually it's funny because I feel like when men are between women, they're more vulnerable. Like most of, at least when I was in high school, when the stereotypes are at its peak, most of the guys came to talk to me about their feelings. And they would just be like, yeah, I feel like this and I feel like that. And I'm like, boy, like, I'm sorry for you, but like, you have so many friends. You're like the popular guy of the school. Like, why are you talking to me about
Yeah.
that shit? You know? And they're like, yeah, well,
Yeah.
because I can't talk about it with my friends.
Yeah.
Because I need to be the masculine. Because I need to prove that I'm the strongest. That I'm the alpha man. That I can deal with that shit.
Yeah.
And I do think that comes from not being like when you grow up and you only have guys around you as a guy, then you're more busy with doing fun stuff, like I don't know, playing football or just getting wooden sticks and use them as guns or something like that. Something like that. You don't talk about like how do you feel or
Yeah.
there's this girl
Yeah.
that I like. You may talk
Yeah.
about it, but it's not like the main point of growing up as a boy.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? That the girls maybe talk more and guys
Yeah.
hit each other with sticks or something?
Girls are more grown up than guys.
I have a
At-
theory,
from
I think.
4 years old.
It's
I
like
think.
this is off topic. It's gonna be another episode, guys. But it's I think for me it had a lot to do with like, oh, my father didn't do that.
Yeah.
So my father didn't do that, but I could somewhat. My mom showed a somewhat compassionate. Like, to be honest, my mom is not the best mother, but she does her best, and I respect her for it. But she hasn't been like the most open person because she carries a lot of trauma, unprocessed. But I noticed that, yeah, for a lot of years, I was better at expressing my own feelings towards females than males because I was like, I'm not used to talking to males in this way because I never talked to my dad in this way. So I felt like very uncomfortable and even like, yeah, I need to prove that I'm still a male because males don't talk about this, right?
I was never able to really talk about my feelings until I was 14. And
Oh,
I had
that's
my
pretty
first-
early still.
And I had my first panic attack.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because that was really
I'm
the
sorry.
reason.
Yeah.
No worries. It was, yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine. But it was like, because my mom worked a lot and she was away from home a lot, and my dad used to raise me and my brother.
oh, whoa.
Yo.
It's like
It's a Greek, tragedy. And I had
Oh my
a son,
God.
guys.
I made up 14. MILF.
Can your son talk about his feelings to you? Can you?
Yeah. I raised
You're
him
breaking
right
the
away.
cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but my dad used to crop up a lot of his feelings because he had to raise two kids. He hadn't had time. I talked about this with my mom the other day, and she was like, he missed being able to talk on an adult level, to talk about your feelings and to talk about daily stuff. And you can't have that conversation with kids. So he used to crop all of those feelings, and because he never showed those feelings to us, I was never able to realize how to do that until I had that panic attack. And I just couldn't, I didn't know what to do. And then I was with my best friend, and he was able to talk about it because
Oh, true.
yeah, he just was way better at it, and he had therapists and all the shit. But yeah, basically in that way, I was able to eventually slowly learn how to talk about my feelings and recognize the feelings, and
And
being
be
able to-
vulnerable.
yeah, exactly. Being able to accept that I'm a human and I can feel those things because that is essentially what makes a human,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Yeah. And I also think because we said why guys are more able to talk about it with girls, and I think it's because girls, we don't feel guilty when we're vulnerable because there's always this stigma of girls are able to be weak, and weak means talking about your feelings, means
Yeah.
crying, means vulnerability, means feelings, means sensibility, means over dramatic sometimes, as they call it, even though obviously it's not that way.
Yeah.
But I feel like girls are allowed to cry, and they're allowed to talk about their feelings, and even though they're criticized for it too, it's less because you're not supposed to be a man.
It's super. No, funny is not the right word, but it's interesting that like these almost misogynistic ideas of talking about your feelings being more feminine and therefore more weak, are actually in a way also more freeing for women to talk about their feelings, and then in essence also more freeing for men to come to women to talk about their feelings.
It creates
And
a
at the
safe
s-
space.
But at the same time, all that emotional labor falls on women.
Yeah.
So it's like it's freeing for them, but in the same time they also often have to bear the responsibility of playing the therapist for their boyfriends or their
Have you
brothers or their.
heard this thing where your husband is your other kid?
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
It makes sense.
I've
a
heard
lot of
this, I've heard
times-
this,
A lot of
yeah.
times you need to raise quoting, very big quoting marks. You need to raise your partner.
Yeah. It's a really
Because-
shameful phase in my life where I had someone, like a girlfriend that I really liked, and I made a lot of mistakes, and then the reason she broke up with me was like, it feels like I'm raising another kid.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
like, it feels like, hey, it doesn't feel like I'm your girlfriend, it feels like
Yeah.
I'm your mother.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
that's fucking exhausting.
and then I realized it was like, oh shit,
Yeah.
Same.
I'm not even communicating with you correctly. I'm not like,
No.
we're not connecting on like I'm connecting with you, you're not connecting with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's-
And that was such like an eye opener. I was like, oh, I was in like a dip for so long because of that. It was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Why? Why did I do that?
But it's hard. It's hard. I can also understand like viewing it as a boy where you were never able to talk about those things, how hard it can be. So I get it. But it's true that from the point of view of the girlfriend that's gone through that in a way, not only with my partners but also with my friends, it's just, it is exhausting to have to be that role of having to listen to you. And at the end of the day, you know, like people that I care about, I love them and I will do that role for them because that's what they need. But it comes to a point where it's like, listen man, like fucking take your shit together. I'm not your therapist. Either you take a therapist and you accept the fact that you're not okay and that you need to talk about your feelings and they need to open up and they need to let your traumas go, or just get stuck in your stereotype, but I'm not your bitch, so I'm just gonna move on, love. I'm just gonna go and do my thing.
That's
because,
fair.
you know, it gets to a point where I haven't studied for this. I'm 21 years old. I can't
Yeah.
figure shit like that.
Yeah.
And I really like I think there's a lot of truth to your theory about if you've never heard your father talk about his feelings to you,
Why
then
would
it
you?
also will manifest in the relationship you have with other guys.
Absolutely.
It's even hard for him to talk about feelings
Yeah.
because he's so deep within like how his family treated him and how my grandfather's father treated him,
Yeah.
that it was just like, oh yeah, this is how I'm supposed to be as a father as well. And I've only seen him cry once.
Yeah.
Once.
It's intense.
And that's and then it's intense, right? Because then he
Yeah.
breaks down and it's very sad. But he never did it again.
Yeah.
And that's how strong that barrier is for him to have like a breakdown without him knowing.
Yeah, I imagine. Because he was probably crying about something, but it's probably the crying.
Yeah,
of
he was crying
years
about
that he found out.
his mother's death. Also my grandmother's
The
death.
only time I saw my father cry was also when his mom
Yeah,
died.
right.
So,
Not
yeah.
even when his father died, because he still had his mother. And maybe it's even because his mother was the compassionate
Yeah.
side and the hey, it's okay side. And for him, that was like, oh, but when she's gone, maybe where should I go?
Yeah.
He wasn't thinking about sharing that with his wife.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, that's a very extreme, I would say.
Yeah, that's very extreme.
Very
Yeah,
extreme
it's
case.
It's not. I don't think anyone. I want to assume, but like of our age, still like builds up that much.
But there is
his
there.
case-
It's,
yeah.
it's still there.
But
not,
his case
not that
is very extreme.
Not that extreme, but I've seen that in my dad too, so I know what you mean. But yeah, I do feel like it's still there.
I think it's mostly coming from the grandfathers, because my mom told me a story about when my dad turned a certain age, my grandfather wouldn't kiss him anymore. It was just like, no, you're old enough now, I'm not gonna kiss you anymore. And he couldn't understand it really. It was just like when one day to the other, you're 12, then you're 13, then it wouldn't happen anymore. Like, from that age on, you have to follow these type of rules. You have to follow these expectations. You gotta follow it up, and it's moments like that that give you a certain shock. That is like you will always remember it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, wait, shit.
Like, no, I
can't
cannot do this.
I can't do it.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
almost like a small trauma.
Yeah,
Like a traumatic event.
absolutely,
It's
yeah.
like, hey, why won't my dad kiss me anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, it's because of this? Oh, fuck.
Yeah. I do feel like also the generation before us suffered a lot with that.
Yeah.
Because they had to go
Suffered
through that
way.
like that understanding of not only this is not okay, but I'm realizing it's not okay, and I'm the one that's supposed to explain to the next generation that it's not okay.
Yeah.
When I actually lived it through this, and I was raised like this, so why wouldn't it not be okay? So like it's just a whole fucking mess. And I think our generation is the first one that's actually starting to take in this in consideration to an actual real account and just really be like, okay, well, we do need to talk about this, you know? I mean, hello, we're doing a whole fucking podcast about it, so I might as well.
Now we're here.
So yeah, masculinity traits.
Masculinity traits. So, episode 3.
Yes.
Go!
Wrapped up.
Nice.
Thank you, Endless Sunday, for providing us this space.
Let's go!
I'm Jin,
Natalia!
Sufjan.
It's
and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Ciao ciao!
Doei.
Doei.